Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 146 of Keeping It Real. I'm your host, jackkadis. And before we start, I want to do a quick call out to anybody that's been listening or has already been intrigued so far in this listen and is interested in sending me an email in any sort of way to support in any kind of way. What I do here, my email is jackkadis@gmail.com. That's Jack, J-A-C-K-L, Kadis, K-A-D-I-S @gmail.com. It is listed in my YouTube description. Ooh, man. I watched the first episode of Mad Men last night, and I'm not gonna lie, it didn't really grip me, I guess you could say. It did not really grip me. And yeah, I mean, there's other things. I want to watch Beautiful Boy with Timothée Chalamet and Steve Carell. But I think we ought to talk about a movie that I've already seen. Let's talk about, so many movies. I don't know. I could talk about any of them. Yet, none are coming to mind. I'm excited because at the end of this episode, I'm going to work, and that means I get to eat work food. I work at a restaurant, so I get to eat there. Ooh, I can't wait. I'm hungry. I'm not sure what to say here. I'm kind of out of ideas. I feel a little bit. I feel this. I feel that. We could talk about my book. Let's do Mad Men. We'll talk about Mad Men. No, I'm supposed to save that. I wrote down notes. For Mad Men. I wrote down notes for Mad Men. Yeah, we'll save that for my first backup episode. It's the 22nd. In a month from now, I'll be headed out on a road trip to Colorado. And in a month from now, I may or may not be purchasing a motorcycle. I have 2 checks in between now and then. I also have 1 round of bills to pay, a class to buy, and an Airbnb to pay for. So, as it stands currently with what I have in my bank account, I would not be able to afford the motorcycle. I think I'll just be able to scrape by. Now, scraping by isn't ideal, right? So I shouldn't buy the bike. And I probably am not going to buy the bike as it's looking as of late because it's a logistical thing as well. I'm trying to sort out my best, like getting these videos in order before I go on this trip, and to also plan and execute a path of action where I'm able to get my bike home. It's a Goldwing from 1984, right? So I'd either want to have a trailer, and that would make me able to drive there, and I don't know where I'd get a trailer. It would cost money. Or yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know. We'll see what happens. My car does have a hitch on it, so I could. But then I also have to pay for gas to get there and find a trailer. Oh my God. I, 'cause- 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 ' You don't know. I do not know what I'm going to do. Today is simple, though. Today I go to work and finish my videos after work. That is very simple. And I eat pasta after work. I finished all the ramen in the house. So now there is simply lots of pasta in the house that I must eat. And pasta good. Because pasta... I feel like... I was feeling my arms in the shower today. And I feel like I'm getting more firm and stronger because I'm not eating McDonald's. McDonald's really packs the flab onto you. If you want to feel like flabby and sad, then you can eat McDonald's. If you cut McDonald's out, you'll find, and you keep eating, you have to keep eating, you'll find that I feel like my muscles feel tighter and stronger. And that's a great feeling. Maybe also, though, it's because I didn't work for the past 2 days, and usually I work every day. It could be that. Or at least usually I don't go without... Usually I don't go 2 days without working. Okay. Yesterday was a wild day. So yesterday I wake up, do my Keeping It Real, book it to work, think I'm late, get there, clock in. Boss looks at me and says, why are you here? Why are you here? Whose shift did you swap out for? Whose shift did I swap out for? Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Was I happy to hear that? Because the answer was nobody. I didn't swap anybody's shift. And that could only mean one thing. I'm not supposed to work today. So I clocked my ass right back out. And I was 2 minutes late. So that was like, I didn't even have to be late either. And then I walked my way over to, I walked my way back over to my bike and I left. And you know what I did? I went straight to Bank of America, withdrew $80. I also opened a savings account. And I went and I got a haircut. What do you guys think? I love it. Why? Because my hair is way shorter. And that's important in the grand scheme of a haircut because it means I won't have to pay for another haircut for a while. That's what I told the guy. He said, what are you thinking? And I'm thinking, well, I'm really short on money these days. So hook a brother up with a really short cut. And he said, I got you. And he cut it like this. And I love it. I think it's going to make the ladies go wild. I think I look extraordinarily handsome. And on top of it all, I won't have to pay for another haircut for a while. So I gave him. I predict I won't get another haircut until. It's hard to say. June, July, August. It's hard to say. I don't know. Probably one more haircut in between now and November 1st. November 1st is when I stop shaving. I have shaved every day since I cut my giant beard off, and I can't wait until November 1st. I can't wait. It's going to be so awesome. I'm going to grow my beard out from November to probably February, or maybe even March, April. For a while, I'm gonna let it grow. I think that's probably what I'm gonna be like doing is like beard half the year, no beard for the other half of the year, and love it, and I love it. But yeah. So after that, I went and took the rest of my cash money, $50, and dropped it off at work as my second installment to pay back my boss for the thing that I missed, the $200 Serve State certification class that I missed. And then I biked my ass home, and I got all my video stuff done. All my video stuff got done. And then I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. And I unfolded this piece of paper with all this bike public ride meetup stuff that my friend that I met at work told me about that I wrote down. And at Crank Arm, there's a ride at 7:00 on Wednesdays. And so I think to myself, 7:00 on Wednesdays. Ooh, I wonder if this is the last Friday of the month. I wonder. Let's see. Nope, the last Friday of the month is on the 30th. That's what I'll be doing. Definitely. But yeah, there's no way. My roommates are coming back into town on the 30th to go to a concert, and they were like, "Come with us," and I was like, "Okay." And then I saw the tickets for $48, and I never heard the band before, and I was like, "No." And they were like, "Listen to the band," and I was like, "If I listen to them, I'm gonna love them and pay for the ticket." And they were like, "Good point." And I said, "I'll probably still listen to them," and I probably will, but I'll do it much later, so the tickets are even more expensive. I'm not going to that concert. There's no way, because maybe I'll wait till after they play to listen to them. Genius. Because I don't have the money for that. What I do have money for, however, is not that. $0. I can spend $0. I can afford nothing. But on the 30th, it's the last Friday of the month, and there's another bike ride out that starts at the bell tower, and I would like to attend that. So, moving on, that's what I'll be doing when they come to town. And also, what else might be happening? What else is going on? Well, I'm battling the demons. Nah. But for real though, I feel like I'm very much like pushing myself down a particular path. We'll see if that's for better or for worse. There's a lot of thoughts that I'm ignoring. A lot of things that I'm not saying on Keeping It Real anymore that I used to just blurt out. And, we'll see what that amounts to, if that ends up being what I perceive to be the right decision. You never know. You never know. Maybe I was never supposed to keep stuff away from Keeping It Real, or maybe I was always supposed to keep stuff away from it. You can only see what tomorrow brings. I think it takes a lot of energy to force something. You know what I'm saying? And where focus goes, energy flows. Interesting. Crank on. Okay, so I hop on my bicycle. Oh, this was a funny sequence of events. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to this bike meetup. I can't wait to go to this bike meetup. And I go to grab my bicycle, and I'm thinking about, I have more than one bike, right? I have 4 bikes. 2 of them are unrideable. One of them is my daily, and the other one has a bent back wheel, but it's still just barely rideable. And I'm like, I'm going to bring the one with the bent back wheel, because my goal for this ride, okay, and yesterday went perfectly. So I'm going to tell you all about my thinking, my thought process, and my thinking and everything. And so my thought process before was I ran into a ride yesterday or 2 days ago on Tuesday coming out of my grandmother's building, and all these guys were on their bikes, and I'm like, oh, I want to join in. And so I hop in the back and realize, A, how fast they are, right? They're super fast. And B, how in a different level they are than me when it comes to surviving on a bicycle for however many miles they were going. So I am like, that was cool. That was fun. I love my bicycle. I was able to keep up with them for 3 blocks. What if I came and did this again, and then I actually came with the intention of not oohing and awing, but putting my head down and keeping up? It could be a really great workout. And that is true. But there was a little tinge of push myself to the limit type of deal. And we'll get back to that. So yesterday, I find that there's a big group ride, and I'm like, I'm going. I'm going. So the little ting comes back and it's like, push yourself to your limit. And I'm like, even though every day my daily bike has electric pedal assist, I'm going to decide to take this bike that has a bent back wheel, may fail at any moment, and has no electric pedal assist. So not only am I going to bike 25 minutes to get to the ride along, but I'm going to do the entire ride with them, which I have no idea how long it might be, and then come all the way home on a bike with no pedal assist. And that would have been a huge jump. You know, the reason that this is such a good idea is because it's exercise. It's something I already do every day, so it won't be such a shock to my system. And there's people. Like, those are the three great things, right? And by taking a bike with no pedal assist, it was kind of like ignoring this thing. Like, let's do something I don't do every day. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you jog every day, you're not just going to go run with sprinters. You could, you know, but I'm trying to like do something. Like I'm very much like lately like trying to take it easy on my body. Yeah. So then, ladies and gents, then what happens next? I think. Can't remember. Oh yeah, so I take the bike with no pedal assist. It's like time to leave, and I take it down the stairs, and I realize a couple things. Right, the first thing I realize is I forgot my helmet. I don't have a shirt on. I'm just wearing gym shorts, commando, no shirt. But I can't show up to a bike thing without a helmet. I just know bike people, and if I had no helmet on, they would be like, "Oh, brother, this guy stinks." Right? I need a helmet. So I turn around to get my helmet, and as I'm turning around, I see my car, and I'm like, this wheel could fail at any minute, and this is going to be really hard. I could take my car. And then I'm like, well, that just makes this whole ordeal more complicated, and there's already a bike in the back of my car, a bicycle. I don't even know. Like, I'd have to take that out and whatever, and I don't know. And then I'm like, I don't know. And then my brain starts thinking, like, make this simple. This is supposed to be simple. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go back up for my helmet anyway. I'm just going to grab my electric bike. And that's my decision. And so I'm going up to grab my electric bike. And mind you, at the time, it's clear that my electric bike is low on juice. I know if it's going to fail. I'm pretty confident it will fail. But I'm thinking, well, you know, that'll just be a challenge. I'll have to bike home with the dead weight of the battery. That'll be okay. And so I hop on my electric bike and I head down there. I have my helmet on. No phone, no headphones, just the keys in my pocket from my house. And I get there, and even though it said 7 o'clock, they didn't leave till 7:10, and I got there at 6:50, so I had to wait around for a bit. I felt very uncomfortable as I was the only one with no shirt. I did not socialize with anybody, but it's okay because I was there to ride my bicycle. Actually, matter of fact, there was a nice lady who was passing me, and I said, hey, nice bike, because she had the exact same bike as me, except hers was tan. Same size, same everything. And she said, thanks. And she realized it's the same bike, and I showed her all the things that are broken with mine, and we talked. She seemed like she had autism. It's funny how autistic men and autistic women are much different, but she seemed like she had some sort of autism. And high-functioning autism, may I just say. It was not a drag at all to have a conversation with her. She was very nice. But I'm not sure if it was there or what. Oh, okay, this is what happened. I get to the part about my bike, and I tell her, like, oh, my battery's probably going to die, too. It's going to suck. And then she's like, I have these side pouches on the back of my bike, and I'm happy to take your dead battery if it dies. And I think, no, I'll just ride with the dead weight. And then I realize, kind of like, actually, that's really nice of her. And I'm not trying to kill myself here. I'm just trying to have fun. So if my battery dies, that's actually I would love to put it in her pouch. So I say, actually, I'll take you up on that. Thank you. And then the ride starts. And within the first 5 minutes, I finally realized that my bike, it's like the things that you don't think about just because you don't think about them are so numerous. And one of those for me is I actually have modes on my bicycle. It's a pedal assist. It has a battery. It's electric assist. And I keep it in high mode all the time. I just go from work back. So I keep it in the fastest mode always. And I do this so often and without thinking that in this particular scenario where my battery might die and I don't want to have to bother someone about putting my battery in their pouch and I still have to go all the way home afterwards, it took me until 10 minutes into the ride to realize, wait, I have modes. So I swap it all the way down into economy mode. And I'm like, this is perfect. These people around me aren't going that fast. High mode is probably even too fast to even have on around them. And it just eco mode, we'll see, but it just might get me home with a charged battery. Spoiler alert, it did. And yeah, so that's we went along the ride. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Ended up having small talk with the brewery owner because this is how it happened. There's like these points where we'll be on the street, but then we'll go on to the sidewalk to go to the greenway or something. And it's like this and then it converges. So like a herd of bikes trying to fit into like a, 1/3 the size width path. And it gets very like second guessy and stuff like that. And I'm always like, whenever the group slows down, I'm always like sort of all around, like doing circles on the side, like don't want to reduce my speed or whatever. And we made this giant left turn trying to get on this narrow path. And so I am like, I want to get in, but I don't want to cut anybody off. Like I'm just trying to be like smart about it. So I go up on the curb, hop both my tires, and it's like uphill, and I can't keep my balance. So I have to drop my feet from my pedal, and that's very embarrassing, I have to say. Even though no one watching, even if they really don't, no one cares. I felt like, I don't know, I kind of felt like I was the guy with his shirt off, kind of like acting a little bit crazy on his bike. I better like not lose my balance. But I lost my balance, and I had to like, get back on my bike, and I didn't fall or anything. My feet just dropped from the pedals to the floor, and I had to do an extra circle. And when I do the extra circle, I think when you get embarrassed, you get nervous and like anxious. And when I get like that, it's like I want like my instinct was when I made that turn and I saw a guy on a big green bike, I just immediately started like blurting out, like just talking to him. And I feel like that's like, for me at least, like that. And I had another interaction with somebody near the very end of the ride, which I will talk about after, and I will explain why I liked this interaction but didn't like this interaction. And I didn't like this interaction because that's what made me reach out to him. And then, of course, like I felt obligated to hold a conversation, and then I didn't know when to leave it. And then, this, that, and this and that. And then, like, it wasn't that big of a deal or anything. It's like not like I regret it. I'm happy that we spoke to one another. But near the end of the ride, we're like right back to the brewery, like brewery's in sight, 2 streets away. This older gentleman comes up on this like sick, like purple mountain bike, and he's like, "Can you wheelie that thing?" And people ask me that all the time because I ride crazy. Like I'm very good on my bike, and I can do a lot. Like I can, and I also love in group settings because it's like a new challenge. Like, oh, you can picture people are watching you, so you can like try and, But he said that, and I said to him, "No, but I know you can wheelie yours." Because he had a white shirt on, and I remember watching him wheelie it, and he can hold a wheelie. And it was so dope, this interaction, because we exchanged like two more sentences maybe, and then like it was like part of the conversation. He felt he had to wheelie, and he popped his tire up, and I was like, I've always wanted to do this. So when he popped his tire up, I inched up, leaned over, stuck my arm out, and I tried to get his I felt his front wheel was spinning in the air, right? Because he's on a wheelie. And so I tried to get his front tire to stop spinning. And sadly, we were up on the other side of the yellow line, and there's a car coming. So he had to drop the wheelie. But that was so sick. That was so sick. And then I said goodbye to him because I didn't stop at the brewery. I just went straight home. And my battery lasted all the way home in eco mode. I even kicked it into high mode and then in the last like mile or two. And it lasted. So that was awesome. Had a lot of fun. And yeah, I guess in settings like that, I like being activated more than trying to activate. Or does that make sense? So like, I don't want to bother anybody, I guess, because I don't know anyone, and I also don't want to like create a scenario where someone feels like they have to make me feel a certain way, or like, yeah, I don't know. But when someone asks me something or speaks to me, then I feel like super stoked, because then I feel like it's a better start, and I'm like more willing to chat it up. That might be weird. Should I just talk about the first episode of Mad Men? Should I grab my notes and just talk about Mad Men? Mom's not going to like that, because Mom was going to hold off on rewatching episode 1. I think I'll hold off on it. So, I mean, for the second half of this episode, though, let's review a movie. What's a movie that... Well, I haven't... Yeah, there's nothing I've seen immediately that... No, I already talked about that. Have I seen anything good lately? We can do Inception. Inception's good. Inception, the movie. So, the movie starts off on a farm. And you're very much kind of like, at least me, I was kind of like, okay, this is a space movie. I'm like waiting to see how is space going to tie into this. And I feel like Inception is very much like a dreamer's movie, because it's so much has to be forgiven in the sense of like, this would never actually happen, that you're able to create this entire world where you no longer have to worry if the reader or listener is able to forgive, but rather what they can imagine. And you kind of get that vibe very early on when... Well, it's something... They're in like a dust bowl. They set their plates down, face down on the dining table and such, because dust will roll in storms, and if they have the plates face up, then dust will get all over the surface in which they eat off of. And it's always about crop harvest, even though the world is in a major food shortage. This, I believe, is placed somewhere in the future. They have very futuristic farming machines, and we're zoomed in on a family that lives on acres of farmland. So we are shown this family, and we're taken along on a trip with the father. So it's the grandfather, the father, the daughter, and the son. That is the family that lives in this farmhouse that is in charge of acres of farmland. So we follow the dad into town with the daughter and the son for a parent-teacher conference. And in this conference, the administration, we get a glimpse into what before we get to the parent-teacher conference, they're driving there on the way to go there, and they see a plane fly over top of them. And the dad is infatuated. And this is the first time in the film we hear the interstellar music. It's like this twinkle. It makes you feel like you're floating in space. It starts to play as they're chasing. He veers off the dirt track and starts driving through the cornfield, and it's kind of like this magical moment where he's got his computer out where he has his daughter steering, and he's trying his son steering, and he's like trying to deactivate it or take control of it or whatnot, and they go through all this farmland, and all of a sudden they almost fall off this cliff into this water, but he screams to slam the brakes on, and he gets out of the truck, and he matter of fact actually managed to do it. He got control of the drone, and he sets it down in some planes nearby, and they go and pick it up and put it in his truck, and it's all in, I guess, a couple hours work, because he says it's like an Indian surveillance drone or something, but he hijacked it. It's his now, and it's all in a day's work, because then he just shows on up to the school for the conference, and that's where you see the administration. It's like 3 teachers in what is probably like the principal's office or some sort of office, and they'd say to the dad, like, oh, one of your kids is doing just fine, the other one we worry about, we need farmers, and the other day he drew a spaceship in class, or something along those lines. Like, the other day he showed interest in this, when what we're trying to teach is farming. The world needs food, not astronauts. That's sort of the message that the teachers give to him. And he is not with it, not buying it, talks back, doesn't like him. And he actually, with his mouth, ends up getting his kid expelled. And he has to break the news to the kid in the car when he picks him up. Not expelled, sorry, suspended. And they drive back. And, it's more back and forth. They're back at the farmland. And this is where we start to really hear about this girl's room. And within this girl, the little girl's room, who's the cutest little girl, can I just say, she says she has ghosts. A ghost in her wow, Interstellar kind of makes me want to cry. A ghost in her bookshelf. And the dad's like, ghosts aren't real. But the dad does take interest when, after a big dust storm, dust settles on the floor in a certain way, in a certain pattern. And they're using Morse code and decoding things and trying to decipher what this means. And they come to the realization that gravity is stronger in this spot. Gravity acts a bit differently in this spot. And that leads them on, after they decode, they find coordinates. So he used to be a fighter pilot. That's the opening. The opening scene of the movie is him flying a plane as fast as planes can possibly go. That's the opening scene. So he very much has like a very big sense of adventure, a sense of what's out there. He's a very go-get-'em kind of guy. And when they find the coordinates, he is like, well, I have to go check him out. I'll check him out. I'll let you know what's there, to his daughter. And his daughter's like, I have to go with you. And he says, no, you can't go with me. I have to go alone. And he packs the truck up, and everyone's like, all right, good luck. And he leaves. And on the dirt road out of the farm, she pops her head out of the blanket in the passenger seat, and he realizes that she snuck herself into the truck. And, he's a good man, he's upset, but he's not going to turn around, and he ends up just accepting it, and there she goes with him, coming along. So they finally, after driving for a long while, reach this place, this gated fence where the coordinates are. Interstellar's a crazy movie. And the daughter says to him, don't you have bolt cutters? Because it's a big fence. And he's like, I guess so. Stay back here. And he walks up to the fence with bolt cutters, and spotlights hit him. And a voice is like, step back from the fence. And they end up capturing him, these people. So you're very on edge right now. You're like, what? What did he stumble into? He got his daughter taken? No. And he wakes up in a room. With this woman. And he's like, where is my daughter? And it's quickly revealed that his daughter is just fine, just safe. And then he's led into this board. It's very much like a sequence of rooms. First, it's like this interrogation room where it's just him in a chair. Then he's led into this room with an oval table and a bunch of executives. And then the wall of that room will slide open and show you them building this giant rocket. And they're here to recruit and convince him that he needs to head this mission. They have discovered wormholes, and it's the future for civilization. Obviously there's not enough food on the planet, and he needs to save the world. There's plan A and there's plan B. Plan A is finding a habitable planet through one of the wormholes, or through the wormhole. I think the wormhole is next to Saturn. And plan B is if you can't find a habitable planet, you must, or it's find a habitable planet and return, or if it takes too long to find a habitable planet, enact plan B. And when you finally find one, realize you won't have enough fuel to get back home, and you have plenty of frozen sperm and eggs to populate. And so, he agrees. And because he agrees, his daughter is heartbroken. Daddy, you can't leave. You can't leave, Daddy. And he's very much like, I have to, honey. And it's a tense couple days in the house. And when he finally leaves, there's a very important scene in her bedroom where he goes to say final goodbyes to her. And she won't even look at him. And she's crying so much. And he says, honey, I have to go. He gives her a watch. He says, when I come back, time will have passed differently. So keep this watch and we'll compare times. And she is just like she is, very headstrong. She says, you cannot go. Don't go. Don't leave us. Don't go. But he has to go. And he says, don't make this hard, please. Please don't make this hard. The watch was like his final. The watch was like giving her the watch was supposed to be like, I guess, was like his, hopefully his Hail Mary to get her to stop crying and like hug him goodbye. But she refused. She was too mad at him. And she picks her head up out of her arms and grabs her journal. And she says, look, I've been decoding. In my room, the books have been falling. The dust has been settling in weird ways. I've been decoding. And you know what it says? It says, stay. You have to stay. Stay. And, you know, she's just a kid. What does she know? So he, you know, it's time to go. Whether or not she's still crying or not, he has to leave. So he gets up and closes the door, walks downstairs, gets in the truck, shakes his old man's hand, and then grabs his son by the shoulders and says, you got to take care of the farm. Take care of your sister, okay? It's like a man-to-man thing, like transferring fathership of the house or whatever. And he shakes his head yes. And then he gets in his truck and heads toward NASA. Tears are starting to form in his eyes as he's going down the trail. And he looks to his right in the passenger seat where that blanket is that she snuck herself into not that long ago. And he lifts up the blanket just to see if she's under there, probably hoping that she was. But she wasn't. And right about this time, we cut back to the front of the house, and the daughter runs out. And she's changed her mind. She wants to say goodbye. And he's gone. And she can't. And it's over. And Grandpa sort of grabs her and gives her a big hug. Like, it's okay. I've got you. And this is the start of this man's journey. He's suited up, and soon enough they launch. He has a crew of about 4, and they break Earth's atmosphere and set a direct course for Saturn. They connect to this big International Space Station looking thing with like multiple booster attachments and all the frozen egg cells, and the mission has begun. And that is, you know, this is when I start to form my sort of feelings about what's happening in the movie. I'm very much getting this sense of like, whether it's saving the world from hunger and establishing a new colony on a different planet, or just, you know, being a human, being a person, being a man. It's almost inevitable that like you'll find yourself in the scenario in which you must go to the place or do the thing. And I commend this man because I feel like his whole life, you know, he seemed very headstrong and sure of himself. He fixed a flat tire on in one of the opening scenes. Like, he's very just sort of like, you know, in like at the farm on Earth, there was nothing he couldn't solve, nothing he couldn't do, kind of deal. Like, the world was too small for him, and you know, there was no difference he was going to make there, I guess, according to him, right? And that's sort of like how the film begins. It's like he's just this useful guy in a useless place, and he has to leave a lot behind to go out and do this space mission, but it's almost like a no-brainer. Yeah, it's really painful for him to do it, but he has to go. He must go. But that doesn't stop, for after he's left, that doesn't stop him from, like, feeling real sad about, like, you know, the state of everything. Like, my family's at home without me. And pretty soon we're going to enter this wormhole, and time's going to start moving differently, and they're going to age this much while I stay this old. And, he sends them radios. His daughter will never send one back to him. But, he'll hear from his old man and his son. And the wormhole is approaching. And then it's like it snaps you back into it. He has to focus back on his mission. And as the wormhole approaches, they gear up and they say, "Here we go." Their entire mega ship goes through the wormhole, and then they find their first planet. Is it habitable? Now, men and women have already gone to these planets to see if they were, able to be human, if humans could live there. And they had these options, right? Like if they found a planet that they thought might be good to go for humanity to settle on, they would start pinging. They would send pings back to base, to Earth. And this would if they kept sending pings, it'd be like they really thought that this was a good place. So they arrive at the first place to, I guess, I don't know. I think they want to check it out for themselves. I forget the thought process. I think it's like they hadn't heard any pings, so they want to just go and pick up the astronaut and take the astronaut with them, And so and also, I forget to mention, there's also a robot. There's like AI robot thing that comes along for the ride with them. But it's not that important to the story, to be honest, so I just haven't brought it up. But it's a very weird robot. Anyway. Hold on. So, they enter atmosphere. He takes the sticks and does this crazy landing. And it's a world full of water, or at least liquid, right? Which is crazy. And they land their ship, their mini ship, the ship that's detached from the big space station, kind of shaped like a Dorito. And they land it, and the hatch opens, and they kind of get out to explore the world. And they want to know where's our astronaut? Where's the pinging coming from? And they look around, and there's giant mountains in the distance. And they say, "Well, we landed right here where the pinging was coming from. Where's our guy?" And out on the horizon, they see this ship wrecked, destroyed. And so they are obviously thinking, "Oh shit! Oh shit, he's dead." Or he crash landed. Like you think, oh, he crash landed, And time moves differently down here. Every hour down here is like 7 years up at Earth. So, and it's all because of gravity. And this is actually real. This is actually an actual phenomenon. Which is kind of cool about Interstellar. Gravity truly does dictate time. Fun fact. We think that time is no, gravity dictates time. Anyway, which is crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? Anyway, that's how big the scale of things is. True. The woman rushes to the ship because she wants to get what's clearly a black box. As a viewer, you're able to recognize that. She wants the data from the ship. And she's trying to pull the data out. And that's when our main guy looks at these mountain ranges in the distance and realizes that they're coming closer. These, ladies and gentlemen, are not mountains, but ginormous tsunamis. Now, keep in mind that the water is about knee height. And imagine being in knee height water and seeing a wave the size of, I mean, it must have been like 4 Empire State Buildings stacked on top of one another. Isn't that funny, by the way? As Americans, we measure things in like Empire State Buildings and football fields. Isn't that weird? Anyhow, it's like, okay, we got to take off. We got to get out of here. And the robot has to, like, the girl has to get this black box. She can't get it. She finally gets it. And there's 3 of them down there. One stayed up on the ship. And so the 3 of them are like racing, trying to get back to the ship as this wave's coming. And it's such a close call. The robot has to scoop the girl up and run. And the guy that waited out there for the girl to get in ends up getting in last. And because he ends up getting in last, the wave actually sweeps him away before the hatch closes. And then the hatch barely closes in time. And then the spaceship is used as a watercraft. And it travels up the wave. And they go up the wave and down the wave. And they barely survive, but our guy dies. One of the 3 of them dies, and this is horrible, a horrible death. And so they find themselves back in knee-high water. He puts the legs of the ship down, and the engines are too waterlogged to boost to work. But, here comes the next tsunami wave. So they're desperately trying to figure out how to dry up the engines. Finally, they make it off the planet. The engines just barely work, and they take off before the next wave gets to them. And they go out to orbit, and they attach back to the big spaceship, and they dock. And they were down there for longer than they should have been for all this. I think they were down there for like 4, 5, 6 hours, which is decades. Decades past. 20-something years. And when the hatch opens, there's our man to remind us, who has now grown a beard, has a blanket over his shoulders, and is acting crazy. Like, seeing these people after having been left alone for so long is nutso. Nuts. And they explain to him that someone died, and then, because it's been decades, they have new messages from home. And this is when our main character goes and sees that his daughter's all grown up. His son has kids. And his dad is dead. All in one moment, he sees all these things. And he missed all of it. And that's very hard for him to witness. But he must push forward. And on they go to the next planet. This planet is the most hopeful one, because this planet has been getting the most pings. And this astronaut is down there, and they think, this is definitely a good idea to go. And they land down there. And they see his base amongst the rocks. This planet is very much like this weird icy land. But it's like, has holes within there's like layers of land in this planet, which is crazy. And so, they land, and they go up in this guy's place, and all the wires are stripped out, and it looks old and beat up. and he is in like cryogenic sleep. He's deep within his sleep. So they wake him up, and he gets up, and he tries to explain to them how there is I don't know exactly. I think what he tries to do is tell the three astronauts he has to keep up his lie because he pinged them to come down, even though he wasn't supposed to, because this planet is not livable. It's too cold. But he goes and to show them sort of the below. He goes to show them what's underneath it all. And this is a solo mission with just the guy, our main character. And they get out far away from home base. And then he tries to kill him. And he has like this evil man speech about how like, this is all bullshit. I just want to go home. They sent me here alone. And this is my only way that I can get home. You have to understand, the stronger and better man will always win. And he cracks the guy's mask, and he starts to have trouble breathing because of the ammonia in the air. But barely, he's rescued. And so now there are two ships heading towards and only one of them can dock. That's sort of why it's either him or them. And so he, he has to be the one to go home. Desperately, he wants to be the one to go home. And so, even though his ship doesn't have the ability to dock, matter of fact, the robot thing disabled it and made it so this ship will not dock, he still must try, because if he doesn't dock, he will die. In his attempt to dock, he kind of docks, but the only fault in the dock is that the airlock, like he's not able to initiate the airlock properly, but he still wants to get he has no choice but to get into the space station, so he opens the airlock anyway, and that causes for a giant explosion, a giant vacuum pressured explosion. And he's instantly killed. So this leaves, the airlock is still, I think, doable, but the station is spinning much faster than it's supposed to be. So then they make this impossible approach, and they start spinning their ship, and they're able to dock somehow. And this is like interstellar music playing at its max. Like, this is like one of the journey's most successful like accomplishments. Like, he's able to somehow dock this ship. It's a miracle. It's amazing. It's beautiful. He's a great space pilot. And after they do that, they kind of weigh all their options and realize that there's no more worlds to be explored. There's not enough fuel to get home. There is simply the giant black hole in the center of this new galaxy that they're in. So it's determined that, well, actually, yes, this ship can get home, but they have too much weight. Too much extra weight. Our main character decides, I'm going to be the weight that we shed. You're going to shed me, an extra ship, and this robot, and then you'll have enough fuel to make it back to Earth. And it's very heroic of him. And it shows his character, his dedication to task at hand. And in he goes to this black hole. Within this black hole, he is met with the realization that there are higher beings at play. People that move not in physical spaces like he does, but rather through time and space using gravity. And I guess in their attempts to communicate with him, he is in this space where there are tons of geometric cubes, and every cube is his daughter's bedroom at a certain time. And so he is, he is very much like, I ruined. This is where he kind of starts to realize how he ruined it all. All he really could have done, should have done his whole life is stay with his daughter. And I need a refresher on how, I forget how he gets saved, but he gets saved. And he gets back to Earth, and Earth has changed a whole lot because times move so much differently. And his daughter is now an old woman who's about to die. And he gets into the hospital room, and she has this whole family, all these kids and grandkids all around her bed saying goodbye to her. And he's younger than them all. And he says goodbye. And she says, I knew you'd always come back. And they share a really important moment together before she dies. And then she says, no father should ever have to see their son, their daughter die. I want you to go now, and I want you to find that girl that you had been on that trip with the whole time, that you sent back to Earth, that you risked your life for her to live. Find her. And he does. And that's the end of the episode. Oh my gosh, we went way over. It's too. Okay, bye.